big up, and welcome to Liverpool 12th Man Show. Liverpool 12th Man here, and we are going to be doing something kind of special. As you can see by the title, this is like a very important show because I know a lot of people have a lot of concerns with the future that is number 9 and that who wears it. So I'm going to start off by saying welcome to all the Reds. Obviously, that's where my heart is always at. In today's episode, again, we're going to do a deep dive into one of the most debated topics surrounding our title-winning squad. And that's what they are, and let's not ever forget that. So what I'm going to be doing today is going, again, over some of the strikers. I know there's some strikers out there that have been added to this list. There are some strikers out there that might be on your personal list. So we'll talk about them. Most likely they will be covered in this list that I'm going to give. But, it's the key question this summer is, do Liverpool need a new striker this summer? I know a lot of people are in that boat saying, yes, we do. And there are some holding out that saying, you know what, maybe it's not necessarily the case. Maybe it's just the way that we utilize our strikers. It's a big question, basically, and something that I'm going to try to do my best to answer, try to engage respectfully with those that disagree. And also, like my normal stuff, I will be bringing pretty much a heavy dose of stats, scouting reports, especially for players that I haven't personally been able to see their entire season on display. I'll go by some of the in-depth scouting reports that I actually pay to get. So it's not like some of these are very, very in-depth and very precise with what they are trying to describe as being the player that isn't mentioned. So let's get into it. We've got Lucho, we've got Darwin, we've got Cody, we've got Hata, we've got Salah. We even have Chiesa. We have young talent in Dans, who will certainly be relied on at some point, possibly for this club, but at the moment, most likely will be going on to Sunderland, where we will get an opportunity to see him perform against the talent of the Premier League, most notably not us, but still the same. We will see him take on a lot of the talent that we have to see. Young talent in the pipeline, like I said, but goals win titles. We all know that. If you're not finishing your dinner in front of goal, you're off the menu. So, again, in this episode, we're going to ask, should we back our current core of forwards for another season? It's an honest question. Or is it time to break the bank and bring in a lethal number 9? We do have the funds. I do see some interesting journalism out there, being that is where my degree lies. I mean, that's something that's very interesting. I understand that there's a lot of people out here nowadays that simply because they have a camera in front of them or they have a pen by their side, they're able to call themselves journalists. I don't necessarily agree with that, but all the same, that's another subject, I guess. And then we're going to ask, who fits Arne Slot's vision for Liverpool 2.0? Because that's what we're in. We're in the stage of 2.0. Let's be honest, like as in this initial team was the blueprint of Jurgen Klopp. It's tough to even say the name. Blenders. Okay. And also, there's others that have constructed it, obviously, with your Edwards and your Schmackys, and the likes. But this is 2.0, and this is going to be the Liverpool that Slot envisions going forward, with a lot of revisions slowly but surely made throughout the years as we cycle out some of the older talent and bring in some of the newer talent. So, but again, if you're watching this on replay, definitely be sure to leave a like. And also, obviously, leave a comment would be even appreciated as well. If you aren't watching this in your own replay, but you're watching this live, at the end of the show, please do leave a comment. Tell me what you think, what you agree with, what you don't agree with, and the likes and so forth, because it's important to hear what you have to say. And I do my best to try to answer all of the. I'm not always the best at answering some of my emails and all the other things. I do have a lot of other stuff going on, but it is important, and it is something that I do put as a priority. So I will be certainly on the lookout for that as well. So I think it's best to start it off with what we have. What is our current situation? Who are our current strikers, basically? Who are our current forwards in this lineup? And I'm hoping, because I do have another episode coming out. Because it's a difficult conversation to have often when it comes to our strikers, and often when it comes to dealing with the conversation in a genuine, honest consensus. That's difficult. And what I mean by difficult is sometimes you have difficult topics, or you have difficult conversations that have to be had, but also it's sometimes difficult to find the same playing ground that you're trying to even talk on or speak on. And that's why it can be very difficult to even get a discourse really started. But let's have the uncomfortable conversation as it is, because the lazy ones are already been had. That's how I look at it. I think that there's a lot of lazy conversations. I think you've all heard it. Darwin can't finish. Cool. Jota's unreliable. Okay. Luis Diaz isn't clinical. Gotcha. And Chiesa, please, he's not even a number 9, right? Those are all the topics that we hear, all the comments that we certainly see being spoken on, not only by our rivals and not only by the neutrals, but even by our own fan base. So I just wanted to point out, here's the thing. All 4 of those players have elite level qualities. In my opinion, all 4 of those players I just said have elite levels to their game. You add Cody into that measure, all 5 of those players have elite levels. We haven't seen Cody play a striker in this system, but we have seen him play in other systems under Klopp, obviously. So all 5 of those players all have elite level qualities, in my opinion. Lucho's pressing and dribbling are exceptional. Darwin's movement, pace, the chaos that he brings to the fold, ideal. When it comes to Jota's finishing is it was second to none, in my opinion. And Chiesa's explosiveness, Chiesa's creativity, Chiesa's confidence on the ball, pure perfection at times, when we're able to see him at his form and at his peak. And if we want to get to Cody, who I didn't include here's some 4 here. But when you get to Chiesa, Chiesa is just that. Cody is just that. He is a refined striker / winger that is able to certainly put the ball in the back of the net, because he's got a cannon of a leg. Bring in Lee as well. Big up, Lee. How are you doing?
Good, mate.
Good. And Brian will join when he is ready. So the question becomes, are we misunderstanding the striker role itself under Arne Slot? I think that's one of the biggest, real, genuine conversations. And Lee, I'm in the middle of just kind of introing into what we're going to be talking about. The list, we've got a list of strikers. We're going to get into that too as well. I got the presentation ready to rock and roll. But I think there are some parts that we should probably define before even getting into the conversation, because I think that sometimes when we have this conversation, I think we're misunderstanding the striker role itself under Arne Slot. And I think that kind of puts a cog in the wheels of us trying to get to the same place on this topic. Do you agree with that? I'll ask you that as well. And I just saw Brian join the conversation too. Welcome, Brian.
Oh yeah, hello, hello. Evening, everybody.
Mhm. I'm asking Lee, and I'll ask you too as well after Lee answers. Are we misunderstanding the striker role itself under Arne Slot? Do you think that the people, us as a fan, as a collective, have a real proper understanding of what it is that we should expect, what we should be getting, and what we have in a striker under Arne Slot?
Well, let's look at what evidence we've got. He started the season with Diogo Jota. Said Diogo Jota is, my type of forward. Like, I always pick him, etc. I always felt Luis Diaz being used in the 9 was just a stopgap until he had something else. But that could continue if we don't buy a striker. We could see Diaz deployed in that position again next season if he's still here and if we don't buy a striker. Because we're going to have the choice of him, Jota. I mean, Darwin's pretty definitely out the door, isn't he? So from that, we can take that he likes forwards like Jota, whatever type of forward you want to call Jota. He likes that type of forward, but he also likes. I'm not actually sure it was centre forward. Was it Feyenoord? Was it that Jimenez or something? The guy was it?
Jimenez, yeah.
Jimenez, yep.
That went
I actually have. Oh no, sorry, Brian. Good. Finish what you're saying.
No, just sorry, the Jimenez, the guy that went to AC Milan. He played against us in the Champions League, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Was that him? Was it? Yeah. Was that him?
I actually have a FB ref on Jimenez too, by the way. So we'll get into that too. Just to kind of get an idea of what, and this, I guess, I don't know if it's let's make sure it's a proper segue. Let me see real quick. Actually, no, I know I don't have it. That's not the first link, but I do have a Jimenez FB ref, so you can kind of see what it was that really defined, I guess, because I know people often reference when they often reference the 9 and what a 9 in his system is, meaning Slot system. It often gets put back to Jimenez. He's the Mexican national. I'll ask you the same question, O'Brien. Are we misunderstanding the striker role itself under Arne Slot?
Oh, that's very lyric. Without wanting to sound like a dickhead, I don't think. No, I perfectly understood what he wants and what he needs. But also, I'm aware of the fact that just because he used to do something doesn't mean that's what he's going to continue to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, but like Lee said, it doesn't. Yeah, I think without it wanting to be like, oh, this is why this guy didn't do well or anything. You can tell we're not looking for a Darwin or a Chris Wood or a Gyökeres. We're looking for a more like a 9.5 false 9. It's obvious that it's like for me. We're not looking for an Andy Carroll. We're looking for a Firmino. That's to me. That's always been pretty clear. So that's ruled out a lot of the kind of people that some people are talking about. To me, it's always been pretty obvious that he wants that little floating type number 9, not an out and out striker. He has played with someone like that before, but again, I mean, the guy he's a very clever coach. Maybe he has some new ideas. Let's not rule that out either. But I think in a most sort of basic, broad stroke sense, he plays with a Acuna, not a Chris Wood. I think the difference is pretty stark. So yeah, I've never really seen. That's why I don't think Gyökeres has ever been on the table for us, because he's just an out and out number 9. He's more of just a real striker. So I think we're looking for someone who's just more. Like Lee said, Jota got to start, and then Diaz got to start. So it's more about that little tricky little player in the middle, not a target man, not a Haaland, absolutely not a Haaland. So to me, it's been quite clear, yeah. But also, I'm prepared to be at the start of next season, Arne Slot's like, haha, ta-da, look at this, look at our new tactical setup, and now we're doing this, this, and this. Cool. But like Lee said, work, we can only work off what we've seen, and to that it's yeah, I think a lot of the people who've been talked about being linked with, it's like, well, that doesn't really make sense.
I get you. It's what, like, I just saw Wakama say, I don't know what Chris Angel's talking about, but
no. When did that? No, come on. We all know there was 2 priority seats, Chris. There's always been 2 priority seats on that plane. So I don't know who's bumped them. You got to tell me who's bumped them. You got to have a pretty good reason. They were our VIP seats.
Yes. Okay. Well, let's be honest. Slot has regularly deployed Lucho as a pressing false 9. Maybe not so much to be a finisher, but to collapse defensive lines with width and intensity, I think, especially since he tends to shade to his natural role of being on the left side. It's a question, though, I think the question, or not the question, but the reality is we do not feed our striker traditionally. We don't feed the striker the same way other teams do. And I think that when our conversations get to trying to hash this out, it tends to be conversations that don't start on the same footing. You know what I mean? Because of that simple question of what we just asked before. Like, what is it that what is the idea of what Slot wants out of a 9? And is he getting it, or is he not getting it, or is he are we getting output from other areas since we've emphasized it by putting Lucho in, like as Lee just spoke on, in that 9? Because
I'm perfectly happy to see Jota given his turn. If Jota can come back or motivated for the new season and fit as a fiddle, then I'm perfectly happy to see him. If we don't get anybody, playing in that position.
Okay.
I mean, I hope we do get somebody. I hope we bring at least one reinforcement in who could play in that position. But we'll see.
I just see it as like we don't. When I say we don't feed our strikers traditionally, there's no constant through balls to our striker. There's no systematic early crosses to our strikers, really. To our strikers, at least. We do the diagonals. We do like switching fields and everything else, but that's to get it to our wings, most notably to Mohamed Salah. And then occasionally, if Lucho is on the left, or if we have Cody on the left, it's to get it to the wingers. Because those are our production engines. It seems as though one of the reasons why I think, and I got pushed back when I brought up the statements, but when I brought up Salah's statement about Darwin Nunez being the second most preferred player he's played with in his career, it's because I think that the striker is often a decoy, a pressing trigger, or even a vertical runner in this system. And by being such, you're going to open up the pitch for our wingers. You're going to open up channels for our wingers to go in and have space to attack, especially if some of those defenders go with that runner. But yet we're not having that conversation. We're still stuck on, oh, well, we just don't score enough. That's why it's kind of a difficult conversation to have. So,
but the only thing I would say on that is if I was Darwin Nunez, I wouldn't like to be. I don't think I'd be relevant and say, "Oh, I'm Mo Salah's favorite player because I make decoy runs for him." It's not great. I mean, I'd rather be known.
Okay, I have an answer for you to say that.
No, I'm just saying.
I agree with you. He's not going to be. Oh, I'm here just the decoy runs. But the problem with that is that our system doesn't, again, go back to no constant through balls. There's no systematic early crosses. There's no emphasizing getting into the 9. but yet
No,
if you
but
want to
12,
play,
can I
you're
just,
still going to
can
have
I,
to make those
before you
runs.
start, can I just say, I completely agree with you.
Mhm.
We don't play to Darwin's strengths. The strengths of Darwin. I completely agree with you on that. And that's why I think we're going to sell him. So why would you keep some of that? Like, yeah, I'm not going to sit here and go, oh, no, we do this and we don't. Like, I don't, the Klopp, why he didn't work on the Klopp is a different scenario. But like, completely under Arne Slot, we don't play with a Darwin. So I expect us to sell Darwin,
Mhm.
but not replace him with a Darwin.
Mhm.
Like,
But
we're
then
almost
there are
replacing him
players
with
that we're looking at that are like
according
Darwin.
to the me exactly, but that's what I'm saying. That's why when I read about this guy and that guy, it's just like, well, he's a Darwin style player. We don't play.
Yeah,
We're not gonna buy
exactly.
that guy. Why would we?
Okay, now we're
Like,
having
we're
the same.
selling
Now we're on the
Darwin's
same page. Yes. Okay.
exactly, but no, we've been on the same page from like the start. It's like
No, I
we
get you and I might be on the
stylistically,
same page now, but I'm just saying,
yeah,
not only that you and I, but I'm just trying to say a lot of times when I get into I just got it done. It's a piece I'm going to do separate, but like I got into a conversation with Roz and Fozzie, and it was the peak of some of my frustrations was because when I'm having this conversation, they're so not Roz per se, but Fozzie was so focused on the fact that this Darwin Nunez is a crap player and he's this and he's that. And I'm like, he's not. It's just that this system doesn't calculate to focus on his talents. And if you're missing that point, then how can we have this conversation? You know,
well,
and I
yeah.
mean,
I
like
mean,
that's why we're having it. We're having an open one, but go
yeah,
ahead.
but it's like I said, look, there's 2 years under Jurgen. He bought him. There's questions to be asked there, but like I said, there's no under Arne Slot. It's like, yeah, you can just like I said, we're replacing this guy with something that would look completely different profile wise. We're not going to go out and replace someone who does what Darwin does type player for him. It just would not make any sense because, like you say, like Klopp to me, he wants his goals coming from those two inside forwards, and
Mhm.
obviously a guy in the middle who I believe probably in a perfect slot world is a probably 14, 15 goal striker because he
Yeah.
doesn't want him to be a 35 because that would mean he was the main
That,
guy.
right.
It's a guy that
Exactly.
sits in between those two, links up that play, Bobby Firmino style, whatever, Cunha style,
Right.
whoever the guy might be. That's what
Right.
he's probably thinking. If my striker's gone and scored 35 goals, that's cool, but something's gone wrong because the system is goals from Mo, goals from Gakpo, guy in the middle, Verts in behind, get 10, 15 from him. You get
Mhm.
10, 15 from that guy. That's where your goals will come from. But we're not playing with we need Gyökeres to come in and score 37 goals like he did in Portugal because we won't give him that ball. It won't be the system. It'll just be trying to put an Andy Carroll in. It'd be like subbing off Firmino and bringing in Andy Carroll. There's something very different going on there.
Mhm.
So, yeah, you just got to move it, let him go and bring in someone who can do what the guy wants him to do. But I'm not expecting us to bring in a 28 goal a season Alan Shearer type thing. It would be more of a false nine. Bobby Firmino, 15 goals kind of thing. That to me is more what we'll be looking at. And that will help us. I think you add that to Verts. Verts is going to score a lot more goals, I think, than
Mhm.
other players. So you're adding in then, and that's giving you two number 10s, 9.5s that can score goals. But I think the majority of our goal scoring reliance will be on the Gakpo or whoever
Mhm.
plays in that, and Salah. They'll be our main goal scoring threats.
But there's also another point too that, and Lee, I'll bring you into conversation as well. What I've seen, because I just saw Norm say, he says, "I'm sorry," in the High Lord too. This is what you said too. I'll bring up Hyler's point first, then I'll bring up Norm's. He said, "And do you know what you are maybe trying to find out what our striker has done wrong, but do you know what type of striker that is needed in Slot's playing style?" That's what we're discussing right now. And with Norm's question or Norm's statement, he says, "I'm sorry, 12, but the system has nothing to do with Nunez inability to consistently perform for us. Also, he is not a crap player. However, it is lack of maturity that undermines his form for us." Now, some of the statement I can agree with. As he does need to mature more. He does need to figure out ways to refine his skills, he needs maybe that coach that really brings out the best in him and brings out and helps, take his game to another level. We might even have to have that answer or that problem to answer pretty soon. Who knows? But what it is that I'm also emphasizing is that this discussion is not all about Darwin Nunez, by the way.
I really hope it isn't. But I really, really, really does hope it, because we've talked it to death.
I know, because it's talking about, it's like, you've talked about so much. And that's the thing. Like every time I go onto, it seems like every time I go onto different shows, especially, I think that they see me on the show and they're like, okay, this is the opportunity to try to go at someone that has backed this player, or go at someone and just get their frustrations out. But why I'm bringing
Darwin punching bag there.
That's why. Yeah, exactly. But what it is for me is that why I began the conversation with a more generalization is because I think people sometimes forget these players are often playing in ways that suppress their natural skill sets for this team's tactical benefit. And I really think that what we see is, yes, Darwin Nunez does not want to be as you called him, a decoy, or I called him a decoy, but he doesn't want to be a decoy.
Yeah, he doesn't be known for being Mr. Dummy Run.
Right, exactly.
He's got higher. Yeah,
however, he knows that he has to do it. He knows that that's part of what you need to do in this run, because you're not the main focus. You might get 6 touches, 5 touches, if you're lucky, sometimes 8. And some of those touches are going to be you like tracking back and playing defense, more of like that false 9 specifically. Now, he doesn't have the skills that Bobby does to facilitate and create and do those types of things. He's a thoroughbred runner that should be a poacher, that should be pressing that back line, plain and simple. However, our offense, our system doesn't orchestrate it for them like that. So, of course, his natural talents, his natural skill sets aren't not only his, but even Hata's natural skill sets. You want to get even further, maybe even Chiesa's natural skill sets aren't going to be on the forefront of what we're trying to find out from our 9. And that's why right now, when I get asked the question about Darwin, or if I get asked the question about Lucho or whoever, I say, yes, we need a 9 that fits this coach's schemes better than the 4 players that we have. But the 4 players that we have are not.
Just accept that Darwin is one of those players. Just accept that Darwin is one of those players, and best for him. I'm not saying you. I'm just we can all just say it ain't working. It ain't ever going to work now. Like if Klopp had stayed and he said, right, I'm gonna retailer. I'm gonna make Darwin the main man again. We're going to play true Darwin and play to his strengths. Even then, who knows? But it's not working now. 100% not, when it's stylistically just not the guy we need. Right. He's already checked out. He agreed to move to Saudi in January. He had agreed, so he's mentally gone. So big money, recoup it, reinvest, let him go and have his career somewhere, reignite his love for the game, his ability to score goals, play 28 games, score 18 goals for Roma or something like that. Just go and have a great time somewhere.
But this is, Brian, I'm not. Darwin Nunez is not my prime. Like, that's why his picture wasn't on the thumbnail. He's not.
No, I'm not saying you're.
I know. I'm just explaining to the chat too, and that's why I saw him in comments said, this is why I'm saying it's not even working. It's not even working for Jota.
I think Jota could have a half a chance as a backup, but he just no. I'm done now with him.
And this is when he's fit.
Done now
because he was our striker from the very beginning. It's not like
he's a better fit stylistically,
and he's been working his way back. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. But he fits better stylistically. But even he isn't performing.
Right.
As he said himself, worst season in his career. We just need, like I said before, we need to stop eating people's bad luck. And I'm not eating Jota's bad luck anymore. Thanks for being here for 6 years? Injured for half the time. you know,
Basically,
you're
from
done
the
now.
moment,
Just
it was from the
go.
moment he arrived, he started getting injured, Jota.
Pretty much, man. Pretty much. He
Yeah.
had one good season for us. Bernie went through it the last time we talked. If you look at Jota's seasons for us, there's one where he has like 15 goals and 10 assists or something.
Mm-hmm.
And he was fitting it. Other than that, it's all like 6 and 3 and 4 and 8 and blah 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 and injured da 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 da. It's just go, just move on and let us do something else because he'll get fit in preseason. Oh, he can. We didn't get a top striker we needed. Maybe Jota can fill in. 3 weeks in, he'll get clipped by somebody. He'll be out for 2 months. Again,
But then
we know what's going on.
who is actually? I'm gonna ask. I'll pick up Red Armchair supporter. I'm gonna ask. I'm gonna ask Lee. Who actually is to blame for the numbers and the actual production we get from our number 9? Is it the strikers? Is it the system? Or is it just, as I think it is, fan expectations?
Yeah, it's a hard act to follow, Darwin and Bobby. Jota, I have given up on him with his fitness, but if he's staying there, I've got my fingers crossed that he can get it together and return to some sort of form. But he's got to stay fit. He's got to stay fit. Like, if he can return to form, then all well and good. But if not, we don't half need a forward, don't we? Because without him, if him and Jota will both leave, and we can't not buy a forward, then I just can't see a move for Jota unless Salvi come in for him. I can't see a move for him. So in a way, like, we're stuck with him on our hands. So he's gonna have to step up next season, isn't he? And if he doesn't, try and get him up the door in January and get someone in.
So, and I saw Mark. Yeah, he did. Jota. I call him Hata because that's J is pronounced H in Portuguese, but Jota, all the same. He is definitely in a bad place with his confidence. Marquez is talking about he missed 2 sitters, I guess, the other night. I didn't get to watch that Portugal game, but he missed 2 sitters in that game for Portugal, who did win, I guess. They did win against Germany. But I have some statistics. I told you it's going to be stat laden and the likes. So and who is your choice at number 9? Obviously, if we could have it, we'd have the man that's presenting himself right there, Bobby, as our choice. But Bobby has not hit the fountain of youth, so it will not be. This was the output from our strikers this season. And as you can see, Hata and Nunez basically pretty much got about the same amount of time, at the role. There was certainly more output coming from Darwin in the sense of he got 7 goals and 7 assists, whereas in Hata got 8 goals and 3 assists. But Hata's minutes per goal were possibly the best of the 3. Okay. I know. If we could bring back Bobby, Lady Southwards in the house, if we could bring back Bobby, I think we all would sign up for that one real quick. But again, these numbers aren't really saying a lot in their defense. And I agree with that completely. Okay. You're looking at minutes per goal, minutes per GA. And actually, Darwin Nunez has the best minutes per GA, actually, out of the three forwards I have on this presentation, which is surprising for a player that's
a minute.
Hmm?
By 0.2 of a minute.
Yeah, it's still the same. It's better.
Yeah, well, I know. No, I'm just saying it's a fine margin. But you've also got to bear 140, 148, 18. That's about 4 games. 400 minutes, 1,400. That's about 4 games.
So Darwin's by having more minutes, it's more. You're going to have your minutes per game is going to be less as opposed to having.
No, but I'm just saying, just in terms of what they've done. Like it's like 1,400, 1,800. It is. I would have thought Diogo had more. But that's about 4 games. Just look in terms of people looking at the numbers, 1,400, 1,800. That's about 4 games difference. So it's poor on every, like you said. Other than Diaz, who assists aren't brilliant. But 8 goals, 7 goals, 3 assists, 7 assists. Yeah, it's. I don't think it's great reading. It's
Yeah.
not elite numbers. It's not great numbers really. So if you switch a Diogo Jota out there and you replace him with a Verts and it's 15 goals and 12 assists or something, but then we might,
Yeah.
then we'll
Yeah.
be cooking. That's all I'm asking for. Look, fair play to the lads. They tried their best. But that we
Mhm.
can't continue with those kind of numbers.
No, I mean, look, this is
Relying on
where
Salah.
you looked at where we get our shots from. The majority of our shots are coming from these particular areas. I can make this graph bigger for you, but you can see it maybe a little bit more clearly. Excuse me.
No, I'm cool. I don't know if the people in chat did they want the full screen or do you want to go full screen with that kind of stuff? Let us know.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see it or not, but basically we average about 17 shots per game. The average distance is about 15 yards for our shot, and our XG per shot, is 0.12, which is not high at all. By the way, that's not high at all. You can see a lot of the majority of our shots are coming from either our wings or outside the box, which means our midfielders are taking a good number of our shots. And also, normally, where you see the 3s, the 4s, the 3s, the 5, the 6, even the 11, that's where a striker normally is going to be ranging in for his strike zone. That's not where you're seeing the shots come from. That should be testament alone when you go and say these different things, about I didn't have Cody on that list, Makama, but that should be like a little bit of testament of like, okay, that makes sense now. You want to see who's getting our shots and who's getting our goals? This is who's getting our goals. That's who's getting our goals. Salah, obviously the majority of them. Cody, Lucho, the second highest. Then you have a mixture of our midfield and our strikers.
Four wasn't a bad effort from Harvey, considering, was it?
4 goals is not bad at all, considering he gets no playing time. He's got more goals than Curtis Jones, who gets 10 times the playing time he does.
Yeah, like you said,
he can go too.
On like this, can we? This cannot.
No, he
on.
can go. Jones can go so quick, man. Sorry, Jones can just go do so. Florian Wirtz is younger than Harvey Elliott, Curtis Jones, and Jarrell Kwanzaa.
That's crazy.
Say that part again. Say that sentence again. That little part. I didn't hear that.
Florian Wirtz is younger than Harvey Elliott.
Yeah.
Curtis Jones and Jarrell Kwanzaa.
That he is. You're talking about Santiago Jimenez. This is the striker that this is 23-24, obviously. This is the last year that Slot was in that system back in, and if you look at it, the majority of the ball was you look at that blue line right there, and I'll make sure that this one gets a little bigger so people can see it. Because this is what I mean by everyone talks about Jimenez and everything else, attacking, possession, and defensive metrics at Feyenoord in 2024. He's 22 years old, young player, very, very up-and-coming player as well for Mexico. The majority of the 97 and the 98 percentile, that's reception in the opposition's box. That's where he got the ball, was that he was getting fed the ball. His shot volume, 98 percentile. That says a lot of what you have in the sense of we're playing for different style of striker in Liverpool than he played with at Feyenoord. And all these show the same.
I have an answer to
No
that, though.
17% off progressive passing. He's not looking for a facilitator. Carry and dribble 66. Link up play 26. Ball retention 43. But his defensive intensity, those are when it gets a little bit more bigger. Ball recoveries and interceptions, 73%, 63% percentile, 67% percentile for defending intensity.
If you look at this, is the look. I've been saying this for about 3 or 4 days now because I've come to a conclusion that we're going to do certain things, and I reckon if you were to measure him up against Ramos at PSG, I think he would come out very, very similar. And I think Ramos at PSG is the guy that we need to go and buy because the striker market this year is very, very poor and overrated and overpriced. And I think Goncalo Ramos is someone that would fit perfectly into our system. And he could become a different type of striker for us. He wouldn't be a Bobby, no. But we don't need a Bobby if we have a Verts in the right position with a striker playing off him. Because I'm thinking it's changing. If we don't get the right striker, we can do one thing. But I think I've come to the kind of this thinking that we're waiting until next season to go big on a striker rather than going, spending basically 80 million on Ekitike as a third choice.
Right, overpaying, by the way, overpaying.
Exactly, to not get your first choice.
Exactly.
I think we might be looking at getting an Isak next year, but we might also want to do something this year. And I've been thinking about it. It's just me. And the lads are saying, not just because I saw something today on YouTube, or I've been saying this for 3-4 days a week now. I think Goncalo Ramos is someone who's buyable. You could bring him into your team and they could play
PSG player, right?
this year. Yeah, Portuguese striker at PSG. And yeah, you could also bring in another striker next year and not replace him. It's kind of like you're not buying a Haaland or an Osimhen as a backup. You're buying him as a backup, but could start this year, but would also be able to integrate if you bring in an Isak next year. I've been trying to whittle down because this striker market is really shit. And Sesko is going to Arsenal. Gyökeres is probably going to Man United. Ekitike is going to Chelsea. So all the ones that people didn't even really want us, they're going to other clubs. So if we are going to do something, I really like the idea of Ramos, and then you'd be able to bring in an Isak next year, and he'd still be able to fit into your squad. It wouldn't be like you'd have bought a big name striker and then have to kind of drop him or sell him or something. So he's kind of what I like, but he would be more like a Jimenez. He's a poacher. He's a box player. Scores a lot of goals from like inside the area. He can drop deep. He works really hard, but yeah, he's not a false nine creator or anything. But he will be I think he will be quite close to that Jimenez type of striker. So maybe we do something like that. That's something I'm really excited because I'm not kind of fixing myself on, we're going to do this. I'm more than prepared for him to come out and go, you're not going to change it completely, but give us a bit of a different version of Liverpool.
What are you expecting to get him at? What price are you expecting to get him at?
He won't be. Well, that's the thing now, you see, because that market has gone crazy. Like you've got Ekitike for 80 million. They spent 60 on him, but now they've got
56.3
million. They'd want their money back. They'd want their money
56.3 million pounds, that is, not euros, pounds.
Yeah, they'd want their money back. But it's like that's the thing now. Even in that kind of, let's get a kind of not a stopgap, but someone who can come in and then be part. Even those guys are now going to cost you 50 million quid. Like Ekitike has one good season at Frankfurt, and he's worth 80 million quid. That just shows you how little there is available on the market. It's a seller's market now, especially if you're a Premier League club. So yeah, well, it is. They're all overpriced. They're all probably Ekitike is worth probably 40. He's going to cost 80. Gyökeres Sesko is worth probably 45. He's going to cost 80. That's sort of where we are right now. I think, yeah, you're going to have to eat that. But it is difficult. It's really, really difficult, I think, to get someone in this year in that central position. I think it's really, really, really difficult.
Okay. The question is like then we see some of the situations where we're looking at least when it comes to our production. Our production comes from our wings. We don't sometimes when we're having these conversations with other people, they don't want to focus in on that. They want to just still pretend as though we're still talking about an outright Lewandowski that should be playing for us or something, you know. And you're looking at these are the outputs of Cody, Lucho, and Mohamed Salah this year. And you can see they've all exceptionally done well when it comes to, you can see the little spider graph here. You can see they've done exceptionally well, whether it's goals and assists or whether it's touches in the box or whether it's take on success. At least when Lucho has the best take on success. Cody and Salah don't really sit there on the same level as him. But it's again why I think we were looking for someone creative and someone that could to bring ball control to us. And that's why Lucho got moved to the center as opposed to Cody, who naturally played the striker role in that role for Holland at times, and even for us at times. So it's a case where would a new striker work or is it going to be another misfire? You know, is it going to be another like situation where we have to work out something, you know? I've done breakdowns on all the individual players. There's Lucho, obviously bringing up his individual players and such. But I'm thinking that I'm going to just get to the heart of it. Oh, wait, let me bring back this one stat. There is a stat that I want to show. That was a very interesting statistic. Give me 1 second. I just hit the wrong button. And that is basically when you get into the conversation of production and what they're doing and the likes, I get that you did have a case where one player was injured for a little segment of the year, had to work his way back. Let me bring this up on 1 second. While the thing loads up, I'll answer some of the questions in the chat too while this loads back up for me. I'm talking still about Crocodile Dundee. The comma says Liverpool submitted a revised offer to Leverkusen for Florian Wirtz of £113 million. Talks continue between the clubs. The package guarantees Leverkusen $100 million with the additional $13 million in add-ons. That I don't know what that is, but says he agrees we don't really need a standout expensive striker when we have two wingers that come into the box and attack and an attacking number 10. We'd be better off giving Jadon Danns a chance, in his opinion. Okay. I think Jadon needs to develop. If we're talking about a prospect that is certainly going to develop, that's certainly one of the prospects. I think that we can all agree on that. Let's see. I think this is all Crocodile Dundee stuff. I showed you, and let me begin the slideshow here. I showed you the Lucho and how he's done pretty well. If you look at this graph, he's done very well. Whether it's take-ons, possessions won in the final percentage, shots attempted, conversion rate, pretty decent considering all things considered. He's got a decent conversion rate. Touches in the opposite box, and this is according to other players in his position. That's how. That's what the spider graph is showing. It's like for the percentile that he's in. Non-penalty expected, his non-penalty expected GA and all this likes. You get into Cody. Numbers are somewhat similar when it comes to MPGs. When it gets to his obviously his goals and assists, but also his conversion rate. But Cody's not a dribbler. He's not a creator. He's not someone that you're going to just, give him the ball and he's going to be able to do, the step overs and all the fancy flicks and dribbling and create something. You can see that's the reason why Lucho's stats round out there. That's the bottom portion of it. But you don't see that for Cody. And what was interesting about it was that you can see that Lucho has outperformed Cody this year when it comes to a lot of the expectations. Surprisingly so, Cody's got a better passing percentage, actually, completion. That I was surprised of. He attempts more passes and he's completed more passes. Now, those passes might be sideways or backwards style passes. I'm not certain. It doesn't say progressive passes. It says pass completion. But that's why I thought that was an interesting statistic. But if you look at it, Lucho has performed better, and this is the percentile versus attacking mids and wingers, according to FB charts. It was pretty interesting to me. So, I had Darwin in here too, because Darwin's statistics are very interesting too. You look at Darwin's on the left is Darwin's minutes in 2024, and on the right is his minutes for this past season. You can see a complete drop off in a lot of different situations, a lot of different categories and the likes that he ended up taking on. Some of these categories are different on the left and right, albeit. But the portions of his game he excelled at, which was shot creation, assists, shots totaled, MPGs, MPXG, were all pretty much on the elite level. But yet, if you look at it now, not so much. He was 98th percentile the previous year. This year he's in the 77th
percentile.
What's that?
Just saying, I'm in the 98th percentile. Whatever stat you want to put up, whatever stat you want to bring up, I'm in the 98th percentile.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah, whatever you want to bring up, that's me. I'm not the green. I'm all green.
Right. Here's a little closer perception of what he brings on. But you'll notice one thing that's changed on his numbers too. Let me see if I can find this. The year before this, he had 77%. He's in 77th percentile for defending. The red is defending, by the way, on these charts. Okay. He's in 77th percentile for tackles, 33th percentile for interceptions, 50th percentile for blocks. If you look at this year, 75 percentile for clearances, 55 percentile for blocks, 97 percentile for tackles and interceptions. Let me repeat that for those that call him a poor player. 97 percentile for tackles and interceptions. Percentage of dribblers tackled, 65%. His basically what's interesting about if you crunch the numbers and actually crunch the numbers, all right, get over the whole eye test garbage, okay? You get into a case of knowing or seeing that his emphasis has certainly been more on the pressing concept, counter pressing, pressing on defense. He's got better numbers this year than he did last year. And he's made a higher emphasis on that because it's why he's tracking back deeper. It's why he's being involved defensively more often than the years previous. And one of the major reasons why Klopps started to not really fall in love with utilizing Nunez was because of what he said in that the way you play on this team is counter pressing. If you don't want to commit to it, you don't play. His numbers have gotten better. In the conversation I had earlier, where I've been told that Darwin has done nothing but get worse every year, his numbers have actually gotten better defensively. I'm not saying that that's a great thing for a striker. I get that. You don't want your striker to be one of your best defensive players, most likely. You want to be the best offensive player. However, that's just the reality of it.
I just hope he's happy still to move to Saudi as he was in January when we didn't want to let him go for obvious reasons because we were in the title race. But I just hope he's still happy. That's all it really rests on then, isn't it? That he's okay. We're going to Saudi and then we get our pay. We get our Wonga back, right, to put towards somebody else, hopefully.
Yeah.
To put towards a striker, hopefully.
There's things like this too. This was like basically I showed up on Hata, who I am a fan of, by the way, too. And you look at the red is where the black outline is Diego's numbers. The red, this is from 2021. This is like when he really started shining for us. And it was just showing basically how he ranked, he basically ranked very well when in comparison to our Bobby. And when you look at it, Diego at the time, especially back then, ranked second in our all-time list of minutes per goal ratio. He was second on that list. Got to go back to 1914, 1919 to go to the player that has a better per minutes.
Look, I'll say this, it is a tough one to go with Jota, but like I have run out of patience, mate, after 5 years now with his fitness. I have run out of patience with the lads, and I never thought I'd say that a couple of years ago, because I thought I'd always be a fan of Jota. I mean, I still am, if it's like the Jota, the real Jota, like the fit Jota that we know and love that scores goals. But he just hasn't looked himself, has he, this season? Even when he come back, he didn't look right. I mean, he hit the inside of the post against Palace, didn't he? But that effort come quite close.
I think he hasn't looked right since that, what I think was like a lung puncture or something. I don't think he's looked right since that injury. He's struggled to get back.
Yeah, that's a terrible injury. That's what your lung puncture. I mean, rather serious, like a hole in the heart or something, like a lung puncture.
I couldn't find a spider chart for Diego out there by FB Charts. This was just showing. This had a comparison of him versus, for some reason, Rodrigo. But all the same, his are in blue. Rodrigo's are in red. You can obviously see that there are parts of his game that he does do well in, and that is more of his MPG and his commitment to blocks and tackles. Progressive carries, progressive passes are very high. Rodrigo is exceptional, by the way. That's someone that is not on my list, but is someone that I wouldn't
He's leaving Real Madrid. We need to go and buy him.
Yeah.
He's leaving Real Madrid. If we're going to be doing all this mad, serious stuff, then a player like that, I don't think he's on your list, but I think he's a player that if all of a sudden Edwards and Hughes become aware that he's available, I wouldn't be shocked if we try to buy him, even though we're buying Verts. If Rodrigo is leaving, and especially if Diaz get an offer from Saudi,
if they move on, we should make a move for Rodrigo.
Oh, it should be all over him, man. Absolutely all over him.
Yeah. Arsenal apparently are making him a top priority, but
that's the thing.
I think that if we're going to make a move off of any of our I mean, I've also heard that Bayern Munich are going to try to step up the effort to get the what's that?
No, sorry, I said everyone will want him if he's available.
Oh,
if he's available. He improves
but,
pretty much everyone.
But Cody Hakpo is supposedly going to be a major interest from Bayern Munich. Diaz is now obviously interest from the Saudis, also interested, an interest target by Barcelona. Barcelona is apparently not faltering off of their pursuit of him, despite the fact that we've told them sale, probably because that's been maybe misinterpreted. I saw the BBC, I think it was BBC who did the report, and some of the reporters on BBC, I'm just like, they made comments, and I'm just like, is that?
I know we're talking about.
Whoops, sorry, I didn't mean to mute you. I can hear you opening your package of crisps or something like that. But
That more.
But again, there's we move off of those move by selling those players. We have to re-up. There's no next man up situation.
Yeah, I'm not into the idea.
I like Van Dijk, or I like Dan's and the likes of those kind of players, but that's neither here nor there when it comes to those conversations. This has got a situation. I just wanted to show the percentile rankage. This is back when he played for Juventus. This is showing how he was one of the top dribbling talents in the league, how he was actually one of the better defenders as well in the league when he played for Juventus. This is Federico Chiesa. His statistics are tough to do because his statistics are not exactly very laden with minutes to really put in there. So Chiesa is a tough player to kind of evaluate. But I wanted to definitely get into, would a new striker work, or is it going to be a situation where, as Brian was putting it, we just need to go for a Ramos from PSG as a kind of a placekeeper until that Isak move can be made, or until an Alvarez move can actually be made for. Okay. It's a big question. So let's say we don't sign a striker, not just any striker, but a big one. Like I said, £100 million man, a goal machine, as so many people want out there. Are we actually solving a problem, or are buying a square peg for a round hole in a sense? I'm going to bring up some of these strikers that are being put out there. I'm going to ask those in the panel and the chat what you think about it. And we can begin with this man right here. Alexander Isak scored against us in the Caribou Cup final. Electric dribbler, glides past defenders, lethal inside the opposition box. But Newcastle reportedly went up to 130, if not 150 million pounds. Is Isak the player that you would have wanted to go after instead of, if we had to utilize the money that we're using for Wirtz, would you have preferred to have used it for Isak, or are you comfortable using it for Wirtz? I'm going to ask that to the panel. I'll let JK, since he's just joining us, answer it first.
For me, when I heard the Wirtz news, I was really shocked that we're going for this guy. I was thinking, do we really need a guy there? Because for me, McAllister and Szoboszlai, Harvey Elliott are all there who could supposedly do something similar that he could do. And the thing was, for me, number 9 was the first top priority, along with the DM, of course. Mm-hmm. So I was thinking, you know what? We need to get Isaac. Isaac has been probably my number 1 choice striker. If we were going to move Jota and Darwin on, I think Isaac would probably be my choice, because when you look at Van Dijk as a defender, you can always say this guy sort of rustled his feathers a little bit, and Isaac's done that a few times. And he's still young, and he can speak brilliant English, so we've got no problem with that one. I think Isaac's probably my number 1 choice, bro. Okay. I'll go for him. I'll rather do it now because of I just want a number 9 who scores goals. Let's be serious now, I think we don't really use that position, the number 9, to full effect because of Salah's greatness and stuff. So for me, number 9 would be Isaac for me. Yeah.
Okay. So the question though is, if we had to pick one or the other for that money to be allocated to, would you have preferred for it to have been 140, 130, whatever it is, going to Isak instead of Wirtz, or are you comfortable with us going for Wirtz and then working out how we get Isak?
Like for me, bro, because of Wirtz's sort of name in the game, and he's probably Germany's best player. He's going to come to Liverpool. That's why I'm not going to say, nah, you know what, I'd rather have got Isaac. Because for me, getting Wirtz is like next level sort of signing. I think it's a good signing, don't get me wrong. But that Wirtz signing that's just blew Bayern out the way, Man City out the way, and it's put our name on. It's a marquee signing. Isaac wouldn't be a marquee signing for me, but for me, Wirtz is a marquee signing, and football's like that. It's just like, you know, when you get a good job on that and you get a new car, you want to show it off, and that it's like that's what football's like sometimes, you know. And for me, Wirtz is that signing, the new Rolls Royce in the drive.
Okay, I'm gonna have a follow up question, but it's gonna be I have Wirtz later on in the show, so I'll bring that follow up question there. Quickly though, so we can move on to the next player on our list here. Would you have gone for if Wirtz, if it came to the table that both Wirtz and Isak were interested in joining Liverpool, right? But we only have 140 or whatever the number is, 130, 150, whatever it is, right? Allocated to be able to be utilized. So we have to make a decision between the two. Who would you have chosen, Lee?
Wirtz.
Okay. Who would you have chosen, Brian?
Yeah, if I think one was available this year and one isn't, so I think we're doing it the right way around.
But I'm saying if they were both available. If they were
both
available,
if they could both interested.
Yeah, they're both interested in joining the team. They're both available, but they're both at the same 140 price tag or 150 or whatever it's going to be.
Oh, right. Okay.
Who do you have to make a decision on who you're going to use those funds for? Who would you prioritize?
Yeah, Florian Wirtz. It would still be Florian Wirtz because that that guy is. Isak is up there, but Florian Wirtz is box office superstar, AAA. Yeah, so Wirtz.
Okay. I have to, let me see if I can. Let me see, because I have a bunch of stuff here. But before we go into it, then I'll ask this next follow-up question. I said I was going to do it later, but I'm going to have to do it now because I saw this episode. I saw these content creators, and I saw this particular one who is an Arsenal content creator. Apologies for not knowing your name. I know you probably don't know mine, much know our channel, but all the same. This particular content creator was on Never a Foul. And on there was George, Montz, Kaz, and the fourth was the Arsenal participant. And the Arsenal participant was arguing that Florian Wirtz is not box office, but that Florian Wirtz would be at our team the best player on our team, which I don't necessarily agree with, but I think he'll be one of many great players. But then he also went on to basically say that currently at this status of their careers, that Cole Palmer is a better player than Florian Wirtz, which is kind of interesting. You agree with that statement?
You said that, man. Come on, man. He's weird. You know what, bro?
I'm not making that up.
About an hour ago, I was with my brother talking ball and stuff, and he was like, Carter Palmer's rubbish, man. He said, what is this? And like, me and him don't talk about football every day, you know what I mean? Like, us guys do. And I'm like, bro, I'm the same. I said, everyone else thinks he's great, but I don't reckon he's great, bro. I'll tackle him. He's slow. He slows the game football down for me. He wouldn't work in a Liverpool team. He's too slow for me. Wirtz is going to blow him out the window, like 100%. Yeah, a different type of player, but for me, Palmer isn't that great. I think he's got that England on British tag, and they tried to get a next David Beckham, you know, like that sort of put him on a throne and that. Like, the guy's not going to win nothing. Carlton Palmer. Would you reckon Pep Guardiola would have sold him if he was that great? I don't think so. So, Wirtz is much better than Palmer, 100%.
Okay, all right. I will get the clips. I will get the clips for you. Maybe we can. I'll even. Yeah, I'll get the clip for you. But Palmer can't speed away from players. Wirtz can. K-Mac is saying.
He's slow, bro. He's just a slow sort of process footballer.
Mm-hmm.
Not my cup of tea. I know a lot of people like him and stuff, but no, not for me.
I think he's good, Cole Palmer. He's no Wirtz, but I think he is a good player. I like him, yeah.
Nah.
He looked into his
Joseph
story.
saying,
Like,
let's not
and
gaslight ourselves. Go ahead.
I was saying, I looked into Cole's story because I heard about St. Kitts and Nevis, and his granddad was black, Cole Palmer, his dad's mixed. But his granddad and his dad were both footballers. There's a picture of him with his granddad, Steady, he's called Steady Cole, come from St. Kitts and Nevis in the 50s, like. But they're all footballers as well. But yeah.
It's just, he was adamantly going and trying to make the point that Wirtz is overhyped, basically. It was a very interesting. I just thought it'd be interesting to bring it up. I'll have to bring up what I'll do is after the show, I'll bring up the clips for you so you can see them, and then we can properly, because I don't think that Never a Foul will allow for me to show their clips, unfortunately. Like they're the kind of I've seen their channel go after other channels that have used their clips to show their statements. So I don't want to. I don't have a relationship with them, and I don't want to overstep my overstep. But that was just an interesting thing. I just thought I'd bring it up. I just wanted to hear if you thought that JK doesn't, K-Mac doesn't. At least I don't think K-Mac does. Brian, do you think that way? Do you think that Wirtz couldn't hold a candle to Palmer?
Well, I mean, you're framing it in the worst possible way. I mean, obviously,
I'm not framing it. That's what
no, I
guys
said,
say.
yeah, this guy's, do you think, like, he's shit, and they're both class players, man.
No,
Jesus,
he said that.
No, but what I'm
is
saying is, they're both class players.
Yeah,
they're both class players. Wirtz is definitely a lot more talented and consistent than Cole Palmer, but Cole Palmer is he's a brilliant young player. That's what he is.
Talented, isn't he, guy?
Yeah.
Palmer's
No, but Wirtz
Palmer's a player that I think all of us on the panel would definitely have at Liverpool. We would definitely like to
he's
see
great little number 10. Yeah, he's a great
Yeah.
little number 10. But Wirtz is just, like I said, Wirtz is the kind of player who I've always wanted us to sign, but I always had it in that kind of, but don't be silly, Brian. We're never going to sign someone like him. Pocket. This idea that we're actually now in the market for this guy changes everything. Now I can go, oh yeah, Cole Palmer, cool, but Florian Wirtz, sorry, yeah.
Okay.
That's it. There are better players, and we didn't used to be the team that go out and get them. Well, we're going to get them now. We're going to get the players that other teams want. Bayern wants, Man City wants.
Asking a question for you, then Joseph is asking a question for you. He's saying, what position will he play for us if we were to be able to get a Cole Palmer? If Cole Palmer were to join us, what position would he play for us?
On the bench. If he's lucky. I don't understand the hype.
I would say he wouldn't walk into our team, but I would say off the left and in a false nine. Basically what Diaz has been doing for us, maybe. But yeah, maybe at number 10. I don't know. He wouldn't start over. I don't know. But in that area, that off the left, in a number 10, but very much like the areas Wirtz will play for us. Like I think in the whole number 10, and he can also play as false 9.
David, we will be getting that. That's that's going to be at the bottom hour of the show. We're almost there. I have a bunch of players here, but and a bunch of graphs, a bunch of charts. Isak was on there. I had next on there. I had Ekatike. I have Julian Alvarez. I have Ashiman. I have Victor Györges on there. I have Benjamin Sesko on this list. I have Jonathan David even on this list. Let me show how this get to. Let me bring up one portion. So this is the list right here of names that have been kind of circling for our as a possible replacement for our striker role. They've all got pros and cons, you know. I think it's interesting. I think that will be interesting too is that like you know, I have a podium for my players. Okay, so we're going to get to that too. But there's Alvarez, there's Kane, there's Isak, there's Sesko, there's Thuram on this list. João Pedro is on this list. Ekatike. Out of these players, who do you focus on? Who do you think that you'd want to focus on? I see K-Mac dropping his Osimhen update.
K-Mac, Osimhen's not coming, bro. He's not coming. No one wants him anyway, but you.
Yeah, good. Alvarez 100%. Absolutely. I'm with you on that, K-Mac. That's a spoiler, I guess, on my on my podium. But if you had to do a podium, meaning like a gold, silver, and like a first place, second place, and third place choice, who would be your podium right here from these offerings? I'll start with Lee, then go to JK, and then I'll end with Brian.
Who would move around in the table?
Who would you want? Who's your first choice on this list?
Well, in terms of what's likely, I'd go for João Pedro, I think. I'd plump for João
really?
Pedro out of them. Yeah. More so than Harry Kane.
I was not expecting that.
I'm not picking Isak, but I'm going to go or Alvarez because it's just not, it isn't happening. So out of the others that are possible, go for João Pedro.
Red Armchair Supporter.
João Pedro, he's been here a while.
Red Armchair Supporter is saying his top three would be Isak, Alvarez, and Osimhen. Not in those order, but that would be the top three on the list. Is his top three. João Pedro was Lee's choice of his gold medal winner, which is very interesting. JK, who would you go for? Yeah. You can pick up to three if you like, or you can just do one if you want.
I'll go 3-2. Third position, I'd have Kane. Okay. Second Alvarez, and then Isaac first.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Okay.
I think Kane, bro.
Brian.
I'll just quickly say about Wirtz with Kane in our team will score goals. Like, we just need a box striker because Wirtz will wriggle around the edge of the box and give the ball to the striker to score. And for me, Kane would be that guy. He'd be scoring loads of goals for us if he came in for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's an option.
I don't know.
I don't know
if is the lap one finalized. I know that they were when I made this. When I was originally making this, it was still like he had just turned down Manchester United and chosen to go to possibly Chelsea, but I don't think that there have been here we go yet. Marion's asking, has the lap gone to Chelsea?
Yeah, that's done. Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
That's done. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we can erase the lap off of that one. That was a weird one, considering they have a actual striker in Jackson already as well. But
no, they were after him they're going to get rid. They're going to buy him. They're going to buy Ekatike, and Action Jackson might have to go do some action somewhere else.
Mhm.
Maybe in Jackson.
I have quite a bit of players that, like I said, that's on this list. I thought I put them in there, but when it comes to my actual top three, I do have a different one. Brian, do you want to give yours before I give mine?
Oh, do yours. And if you want to do your thing, just do your thing.
So I see people are asking who we're going to go for or who what we'll do, this and that. I don't know if it also helps if the player wants to leave. Actually, Jared too. By the way, if the player is actually asking for a move out, and not saying Kane is, but if he's asking to leave the same way that a lot of players on our team, they might not have with Klopp, they weren't necessarily going to be leaving, but if they approached the coach and said, hey, you know what, I'd like to go and take my services elsewhere, we'd figure out a way to get them to wherever they need to go. But I had on my top three, I had Julian Alvarez, I have Harry Kane as my silver, and I have the third player is a player that's not on this list. I'll bring this list back up again. Third player is not on this list, and that's because we're already in negotiations to bring this player in. And I think that Florian Wirtz is not a striker, but potentially the perfect false nine hybrid. I'm looking at him as more of like a situation that could eventually work out to whereas if we did go and get a Julian Alvarez the next year or something along those lines, be a perfect addition because then we can move into a 4-4-2 and have both Wirtz and Alvarez as our two attacking forwards. That's how I'm looking at it.
I picked João Pedro because I reckon his game would be more suited to us than some of the others. I reckon João Pedro could score goals for us, quite a few.
Mm-hmm. What would you go with?
See.
Go ahead, JK, and then let Brian tell his selection. Go ahead.
I don't really want to see Wirtz playing like a false nine. Like for me, we've got 3 midfield slots, 2 defensive, and just the 1 number 10. And for me, Wirtz would be like 10 behind the front guy, number 9. You know, so he can sort of dribble really well. He can score, but I don't really want him to be playing like a striker. You know, just like a number 10.
Okay. Brian, did you have a final selection from this list? Or did you want to stick, or you still want to stick with your, or is the, even with this list, is the Ramos youngster at 23?
Well, see, that's the thing. I've been saying this for a while now. This market ain't nice, and I would rather us play with Wirtz as a false 9, Gakpo off the left, Salah off the right, and there you go. And then wait, Kane, no, maybe 4 years ago. But yeah, if we were going to bring someone in, if we sold Jota and Nunes, and we have the space and we have the money, I would go with a Ramos because that allows you to bring in that better player just 1 year later. Do what Madrid do, you know. Don't be. I don't know. It's like that joke in Colors. You know that movie Colors. Remember that movie Colors?
Mm-hmm.
Sean Penn, Robert Duvall.
With Sean, yeah, and Ice-T. Ice-T was the song.
Yeah.
The song actually. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's like he's there, and like Robert Duvall is like Sean Penn is like, you know. He says, "Look, there's 2 cows up on a hill, a bull and and its son, and the son is like looking down on the field. The cows is like, let's run down there and do one of those cows. And the daddy bull is like, no man, let's walk down and do them all. I can see it's just taking our time. Let's just do Verts this year. We can't do Verts and Alvarez and Isaac and everything this year. Let's just do a little bit this year, and then next year, something like that. So if we can do a Ramos that fits right in the middle, cool.
Mhm.
But I'm prepared to wait until next year, rather than going for a second or like a Sesko, Ekatike, a Delap. Rather than doing that, I'm prepared to be like big boy about it and go, wait one more year rather than getting our third choice and get our first choice next year.
Hmm.
I'm kind of prepared for that. And if you got a Ramos in the middle, I think that would be absolutely perfect. Absolutely perfect. Because they've got Douay now. It's okay. He's done okay at PSG, but he hasn't quite worked out. They could definitely take some money. I can really see that one working, and he won't be like devastated if we're like, oh no, you're not our out and out number 9. Isak's coming in. You're going to be part of the team, part of the squad. It all adds up for me. So I just like us to. I would love to see us wait next year and say to do what Real Madrid do to us, and say to Isak, wait there one more year at Newcastle, and then we'll come and get you next year. Not for free.
Yeah.
It won't be for free, but it's like you'll have one less year left on your deal, and they won't be asking 150. You wait there one more year, and then we'll come and get you.
Right.
Do that Real Madrid shit.
Mhm.
Let's be one of those teams,
Mhm.
I'm almost certain that we will start with Szoboszlai and Wirtz in the team next season. Play with them in the team. Whether we'll start the game that way, but we'll certainly end games that way. I think. Say if like Szoboszlai was on the bench, he'll take the forward off and put him on, and we'll play like that with Mo and whoever's on the other side. Definitely, that's definitely going to happen. I can see that. I can see it being quite effective as well. Like if we get it right. This is what we're all hoping, isn't it? That we can bamboozle Pep, make Pep pull out the air that he hasn't got. You know what I mean? and also frustrate Arteta again.
They're all the goals on here are all competitions too, by the way. It's for all comps, not just in league and the likes. But
But when you look at that list quickly, the old days of strikers, we could put a list up there, me, Brian, Lee, you. We would put names up there, you'd be like, oh my days. When you look at that list right there, they're just strikers who are playing the game right now. If you understand my point. And the prices are fucking crazy. Like, who the hell wants to pay 70, 80 million for some of these fucking donkeys? It's a joke. That's why football for me is going downhill, bro. Come on, you got strikers there with price tags of 70, 80 million. And I'm like thinking, what have you actually done, bro?
I feel if we say without contradiction that we've spent our money on Wirtz well. It's money well spent. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the going like Wirtz. He's sort of special. Germany's best player. Image-wise, he's right. Everything, age and everything. And I think, the price is a bit of a piss take because for me, realistically, I think a price cap on transfers would be good, but it's a business at the end of the day, so you can't do that. Wirtz is like a £50 million player, if you understand my point. Isaac, a £35 million player. Ekatike, a £10 million player in the way it should be really done. But these prices are just so out of control that it makes you put too much pressure on the guy who's actually worth that much money. He's not, and he's thinking, I'm not even worth this much money. And I've got this pressure on me when I go to my new club for £158 million. I've only had one good season behind me. It's a lot of pressure, man, because that price tag stays with you, you know?
That old signing when I was a kid was Mark Lawrence from Brighton. and then
How much was it? £5 and a cup of tea.
900,000. It might have been 850,000 for Mark Lawrence, and then we bought like Barnes and Beardsley. Barnes was cheaper than
Barnes was 900,000.
Yeah.
I remember. Yeah,
Barnes was less. I think Barnes was 800. We got
I
Barnes.
think it was 9.
Beardsley though. Beardsley cost 1 point. What was it? Was it Brian? Can you make 1.6?
2.5, I think. 1.25.
Yeah, I think 1.23. Yeah, Barnes. Yeah, we didn't even pay £1 million for John Barnes. It's just, and even with like inflation and the whole lot, even like football inflation, what we pay for Barnes is still only would be probably maybe 40 in today's money.
Francis was the first £1 million player in Britain, which is probably why he thinks he's only
Trevor Francis.
Trevor Francis tracksuits from a mush in Shepherd's Bush.
$1 million now buys you.
Forrest bought him from Birmingham for £1 million.
£1 million now. What does that give you? A week's wages for Salah.
But it was funny when he was manager of Birmingham when we won the first leg of the treble in 2001. He's all right though, Trevor Francis, but he's got like a really depressing voice, hasn't he? Like,
yeah, but I don't mind him commentating. I didn't mind Trevor Francis. He was sound.
What would you think of if we don't get a striker this season? If we don't end up buying a striker, would you be disappointed?
Yes.
Yeah, in a way, because
everyone's yes, 2 yeses.
Because we've seen our number 9 how much noise it's made that position like this season, even though we won the league. The amount of times people talk about Darwin, Darwin. I'm getting sick and tired of that shit. And like for me, I like Darwin. It is you like Darwin as well, but for me, I don't want to hear no more Darwin news and nothing. I don't want to hear it. Like next season, I just want a striker who scores goals, you know, and a striker who gets game time. You know, that's what.
Yeah. How about for you, Brian?
I think if we get the people we need now and we don't go and get one, I could understand it, because I want us to do what we did with VBD and what we did with Ali when it comes to this number 9. Don't do second choice, third choice stuff, because look what the market is right now. It's a seller's market, and an Ekitike with one good season at Frankfurt is worth 80 million quid. Get the fuck out of here.
Exactly.
No chance.
No chance.
I would rather play Florian Wirtz and Dom Szoboszlai as false 9s and 10s and gap ones than to go out there and try and get involved in that kind of money for anyone other than an Isaac or an Alvarez. Proven players. Anything past 60, 70 million just for some, like Arsenal are going to go out now, probably pay 75 million for Benjamin Sesko. Hey, he might turn out to be the next fucking Zlatan. Who knows? But you're taking a massive gamble on him. At that money. The same with an Ekitike or something like these guys have done nothing. They've done absolutely nothing. So I would much rather, if I knew that we were doing it because we were waiting to do the best player next year. I'm perfectly happy, because I don't want us to go, oh shit, and panic buy, and you get an Ekitike. The Ramos thing again, but you would say to me, oh, but even if you want to do your Ramos thing, he's going to cost you 60 million. Yeah, probably. But I can work him in. I can profile him into this team, even at that price, and allow us to bring in an Isaac. I can't do that with an Ekitike or a Gyökeres or an Osimhen or anything like that, especially at the fucking wages. True. Like me and Lee were talking about, it's almost, you could almost bring in a guy on loan for a year.
That's a good idea.
You know, it's almost at that point now where that market out there is massively overpriced. Ekitike, Sesko. Nobody knew who Benjamin Sesko or Ekitike were 18 months ago, and now they're worth 80 million quid. Fuck off. Yeah. No chance. I'm not going down that road again. Come on.
So these agents, man, they're taking the piss. See that? You still,
I would hold at this stage. I want us to sell Jota and Nunes and go bang Isaac, Alvarez, awesome, brilliant. But after that, you're talking huge money for unproven talent, young players, unproven. Like JK said, in the real world, these are £28 million players. Sesko, Ekatike, 28, 35. Now they're Sesko, he had one good season. It's 90 million because Arsenal want. Need to pull back from that. Or else, yeah, you can undo all your good work.
Yeah, it's been rampant for ages now, the inflation in transfer fees, to the point where it has got ridiculous. It did some time ago, like for barely proven players, demanding exorbitant fees for like barely proved players. It's crazy, isn't it? And what Chelsea did with Fernandes, it's just like that's sort of like that's it in a microcosm, isn't it? Like he's had 6 months, like in Europe, and you went, 120 million for him. I was like, no, but
Okay, all right. There's the Scout snarl, the Thundercat snarl.
Yeah.
Well, we were looking for a DM at the time, and all of a sudden they just went and set the market price at 110 for a guy who had had 6 months at Benfica and was good. So now it's so that's what a DM costs now. Thanks, Chelsea. A guy with 6 months.
As if it wasn't bad
essentially
enough.
Do you think that Arsenal are going to get? Are they going to get?
I haven't repeated this for a while. I know you guys already know it. Sorry for jumping in, but Firmino, Salah, and Mane cost less than Kyle Walker and Mendy did that summer. They spent more on Walker and Mendy, 2 fullbacks, than we did on our front 3, which emphasises the difference between Klopp and Pep's spending power, doesn't it? If Klopp was able to spend...
Firmino was here previously, but I know what you mean. Yeah,
if you put all their fees together, and then that summer when they bought Walker and Mendy. Mad, innit? It's a madness, that, isn't it? Actually, I wasn't saying we bought them at the same time, obviously, but aye.
Okay, the primary thing is, what I was wondering, which is, what do we do if we don't get a number 9? What if all these names are on that list, all the names that have been speculated on? What if they don't actually? What if they don't get involved in seeing a number 9 be put on the back of their kit for us, basically, and we end up going with. I know that the Nunez deal is getting worked out. I know that, or some type of deal is trying to get put together and worked out. I know that it will be more difficult than you think, possibly, to move Hata on to get a price back that properly fits what you believe his talents are. What you say?
No, we'll have to give him away. We're not getting more than 22 million quid for Jota. I'll say it here now. We won't get more than 20 million for Jota if we sell him. No chance.
Okay. Harambe saying Diaz plays 9, rotating with Hata is if fit, but Ramos he's happy with for 45 million. I don't know if he comes in for 45 million. His market value alone is worth what was it again? Hold on.
They paid more than that for him. They're not going to
give away. Paid more than that for him, so they're going to want to get their money back at least.
His market value has gone down, but that's his market value. That's if we want to go there and take him from them, they can just name a price. Fuck your market value.
How much do you reckon West Ham have won for Jared Bowen?
£56.3 million is what they paid for him.
Jared Bowen,
Darwin, yeah.
I don't know. He's 28 now.
Mm,
Who's
I
that?
don't know how much
Jack
time he has
Bowen?
left on his deal.
yeah.
I
I'm
don't
trying
know
to
what
think
his
any
contract is
strikers
like.
in England. And he wants in the
That's
Premier
not
League.
happening.
Give 5 minutes to, like, as a stopgap because we couldn't buy
That's
anyone.
I think you'd sooner see us keeping Chiesa for that role than you see us probably going for him.
Mm.
Ramos, let me see what he's actually on too. Ramos is on. He is on 105,000 euros a week. And his deal expires in 2028. So they're not pressed against getting him a deal.
I don't see them selling, to be
And
honest.
he just signed last year.
Yeah, but if they want to, if they've got new players, want to spend, you got to sell a bit. You got to do. I can see him being viable. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
I can see him being viable.
Mm-hmm. I honestly think that our number
I'm more
9
leaning towards the waiting scenario
Mm-hmm.
for me. I'm more leaning towards the waiting than anything else.
I honestly think that we're going to go with we would be better suited at going with a formation transition to go away from the 4-2-3-1 and go into what we've seen at times, which is like a 4-2-4, if not a 4-4-2 at times, but more so a 4-2-4, and have those two virtual 10s be the attackers for us in the middle, and then have obviously our wings stay with Cody and Salah on the left and the right, and then do a pivot of maybe the question. I think the big question is who gets to be that other 10 with Verts, and that would be a very big question because I truly would love to see us put Dominic and Grav in the pivot and move Maka up to that 10 that I'm talking about in that 4-2-4, if we're going to call it that. Okay. And see Maka and Verts as our attacking. And that 10 would be more of like that. The other 10 would be more of like a shadow striker as opposed to like an actual, false 9 or anything like that. It'd be more of like a shadow striker that would play the part of facilitator and also defender, counter presser, somewhat similar to what we see Grav play, or shouldn't Grav, what we see Maka sometimes do for us currently. But I think that'd be a dynamic. I think that would be a dynamic 4 to go up front, having Maka, Verts being two players that could score, that can facilitate, and then also having on the wings 2 gunmen, being either Cody on the left and having Salah on the right, or if we do keep Lucho, have even Lucho on the left to have a different scenario. But that's just my perception. JK, is there anything on your mind that you wanted to speak on about our striker situation?
Like when I look at it more and more, I just think if we're getting a Wirtz in, I would play McAllister and Gravenberch as the base midfielders. So you got a bit of fighting McAllister and fighting Gravenberch as the holding, but with McAllister you got a bit of flair as well. So you got him and Wirtz in that sort of creative sort of positions and stuff. Harry Kane would work with that wicked.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean? So it's like a 3 midfield and a Harry Kane in front of him in the box. 2 seasons. I'll go with that. He would score goals for us. Harry Kane would. I'm not a big fan of him, I tell you the truth. I think he's not a really good footballer. but a world-class goal scorer. You know, so Joe Gomez has not scored one goal for Liverpool. Harry Kane has scored hundreds of atomic
You
goals.
love bringing that up. You love bringing that up.
But Joe Gomez has got like 10 cups. He's won like 10 titles, 10 cups, whatever. Harry Kane's won one. So scoring isn't always everything, you know what I mean?
Right, right. An end of an era, by the way, for Spurs. I just saw this.
Comparison, JK.
Say again, bro.
Tottenham have fired their
That's
manager
a mad comparison,
after
though.
bringing them.
Gomez and Kane.
I seen it somewhere, a picture. It had Gomez with like 10 trophies, no goals. Harry Kane,
That's
400 odd goals, no one trophy. It was just funny, man. Yeah. Ange's gone, man.
Ange
He
is
delivered.
gone.
He delivered in his last game for him. Was his last game the final? No, actually, they lost the league game.
They're
didn't they,
not
at home?
going. They're going to allow for someone to take over and play in the Super Cup, basically.
Thomas Frank is the hottest number. They're saying like he's straight away. A lot of Tottenham fans were celebrating. You know.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, Frank and Marco Silva are the bookies' favourites.
Wow. Okay.
Frank for me, good. I think with Brentford, I think they're going to be silent. Like if Mbemba goes, Wissa goes, Frank goes, they're starting from block one again. You know what I mean? So a bit of a madness going on there.
Yeah.
That's just early bookies.
I'm
That's
sure
just that
Kelleher's like,
too
what
early.
did I just sign up for?
You know what I mean? Everyone's leaving me. Can't I handle that? I'm a good goalie.
Everyone's leaving. I get here now. Everyone's leaving.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that'd be
He
something.
gets hooked up with Seth Van den
I
Berg and
know.
Carvalho again, you know, getting the band back together back in Brentford. You know?
Mm-hmm. Maybe, you know who I could see sooner moving over to that role or to that spot before Thomas Frank. I get Thomas Frank is probably going to be the possible, he's the possible or the most likely, as you said, the odds makers top bet. This isn't for betting purposes. This is just my opinion. I'm going to go blank on his name. Fulham's coach.
Yeah, he's the second favorite. Well, they were joint favorites a couple of hours ago. Marco and Marco Silva.
I think
Thomas
Marco
Frank.
would go. He ain't gonna.
I think he's a better fit. I think he's a more likely fit.
Yeah, we were talking about earlier on. I think it's a bad move for Frank because it's Tottenham. Marco Silva can go there and get sacked, and it won't affect his career.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like Marco Silva's already been sacked by Everton. He's come back. People know he's a good coach. He can go there. If Thomas Frank is kind of like on an upward trajectory kind of thing, he goes to, does he then get the big job after that? I don't know. But Brentford, Tottenham are probably going to double, quadruple his wages. So or we'd say don't go there, Thomas Frank. He probably should for his own, benefit. It's still a big club. It's bigger than Brentford, Champions League. But it goes badly for most coaches at Tottenham. So it just depends on how bulletproof you are when you leave. I think Marco Silva's pretty bulletproof. He'll go there and he'll just be like, yeah, it's Tottenham.
Right.
Perfect. Whereas Thomas Frank could be like, oh, everyone thought you were good, but you're only good at Brentford. You failed at Tottenham.
Yeah.
You got to kind of play it the right way.
You know who's got the best win percentage out of all the last 15 years as Tottenham manager? Tim Sherwood. Better than Mourinho, better than Conte, better than all of them, bro. Tim Sherwood. That is mad. And they spent a bit of money as well, Tottenham, over the years, I would have got Bentancur from, before they got him. I wish we brought him.
Yeah, I like him. I think he's a good
He got injured and he ain't been right since. But for me, he was so good when he came into Tottenham. I was like, yo, we should have gone after him.
Yeah, Mourinho snagged him, didn't he? Mourinho eyed him up. He's a good player, yeah. Bentancur, have him any day as an option.
All right. Well, we'll see what Spurs do. We'll see even more so. I think most of us will be more concerned and more focused on what we do with our number 9.
Mm-hmm.
Some questions out there as to if it's going to actually happen or not, but I don't think we should get too riled up over it, considering that a lot of the actual progression of incomings are very promising. Again, they're very promising. I'm going to see about trying to get those clips up. I'll see if I can get them. I'll see if I can
bless
get them
Marianne. Nice
put
to see
together for you guys. But always good to see a lady Southward. Always good to see Norm, and good to see everyone in the house as well.
Lee. Lee as
Before
well.
we bounce out, I'm going to let you guys do your thing and say if you have something that you want to plug, or if you have something that you want to say, I'll let for you do your thing. So I'll start with you, JK.
No, it's just good to have a little chat about what's happening right now with the transfer stuff and that. A lot of speculation, as always. That's what the summer is, you know what I mean? But for me, I'm just waiting to see Wirtz. I think Wirtz looks like today was big news that he's sort of signed nearly and this, that, and the other. So for me, every day is sort of a day longer than that. Hopefully we just wrap this up quickly and then move on to, say, left back, maybe a DM, hopefully, and a striker. But interesting times. Bless up the chat as well. Press the like button if you can. That'd be cool.
Yeah. That was the other part of the other shoe. I don't want to get into it right now because it'll start up another conversation. I'll go another 30 minutes or something.
Oh.
So I'll leave it for tomorrow's conversation. But it dealt with Wirtz, so that's why I'll leave it at that. Brian, is there something you want to say to the people?
No, just thanks for being in, and see you all again soon. See you all tomorrow evening on my channel or here or both, hopefully.
Hopefully both, yeah. Hopefully both. Lee, you want to say what's up? Shout out to the people.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks everyone in chat for your contributions and for being here. 2 down now, isn't it? We want Kirkes coming in now to complete that trio that we've been linked with for a while now. And then we can see what else we can do in the window, eh? But exciting times lie ahead. There's no doubt about that. I am licking my lips at the prospect of what we can do next season and how effective we can be. And how worried we can make rival fans. How stressed we can make them.
Okay. All right. Well, before we end, just want to say a big up to each one of you out there that have gotten me so close to 500, which will be great once I get there. One away. So hopefully, if someone was new today, they click that subscribe button. If you're watching this on replay, hopefully you do the same. And be sure to hit the notification bell and the likes and all the jazz. I don't really push it too much because I want you to do it more naturally and organically. But it does help the channel, and it does help a fellow Red if that is what you are for either of the circumstances. So big up to each and every one of you. JK just put in Brian's page as well. Be sure to subscribe to Brian's page channel if you haven't already. And other than that, hopefully, I know the guys will stick around because I definitely have those clips ready to show you, and hopefully we can get it ready for tomorrow. JK just put his own as well, his own channel. But
I put some videos up of the parade and stuff on my channel. You can have a quick look, anyone.
Oh, that's super cool. Super cool. Definitely. Yeah, if you guys get an opportunity, definitely check it out. But until tomorrow, as always, up the Reds, and be sure to stay safe and be blessed this weekend. It is it's a hot one here in where I'm at. It's like 103 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's not even all the way through the afternoon. So yeah, if you can, stay cool and stay calm, and definitely walk alone together. So we will see you tomorrow, and best.